Welcome to ForceProSports Laserforce Podcast with your host, Mr. Mischief.
Welcome everybody to Force Pro Sports. This is the Laserforce Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Mischief. And today I'm joined by Odin's Fist from Sacramento, California. Welcome on, Odin.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
You can tell I just don't care about the intro anymore.
Oh, it's not me, it's the intro.
Yeah, it's well, you know, I just want to talk about tag with you. That's all I really care about.
Tag is good.
Oh, how have you been? You get to play any tag this last year? Any recently?
I mean, in the last year for sure. Let's see. There was the Syracuse tournament last year, and then in October we headed out for the event, the For Funsies, where we brought out two completely brand new laser tag players from California.
Ballsy.
And then now the February sort of duos, sort of random draw event, and then back out to Syracuse in April for more practice before Nats in July.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're still getting to travel to things and experience the scene. Because it's growing. Cool things are happening. Coming up this year, we got Random Draw and the world's biggest tournament in Syracuse, if you can cross the border and make it. It's not funny. Today, we're going to talk about playing in new arenas. And I think we're going to save the practical conversation for the second half of today, because Odin's Fist has some really cool stuff they've been working on, speaking of new arenas, and I want to kind of hand it to you, let you explain it publicly from the beginning. Like, what have you been up to?
Yeah.
While I eat taquitos.
For those who may be out of the loop, in 2019, my home arena died, and Sacramento has been arena-less since then. I think about 2 weeks after that happened, we put a group together and started planning for the revival of Sacramento laser tag. And now, like 7 years later, we're pretty much on the verge. Disco Monkey has acquired a full Laserforce system with all of the good stuff, including packs and phasers to shoot people with. We have been looking at getting into buildings to build laser tag out, and kind of working on that. We have this crazy fallback plan if nothing else works, where Disco Monkey will just build an arena on his land and just we can have Disco Ranch Nats. But you know, hopefully it would be great to be able to get like a full family entertainment center going with all the fun and attractions and facilities, and be able to run that, because that's pretty much been my dream for a while, and Autumn's as well.
Anyone who listens to this podcast, it is their dream to getting to have and build your own arena. Like, there's no one that doesn't have opinions and ideas for you. And I'm sure you've gotten that, because I think you've been asking people for ideas. Oh, I thought you'd have comments on that. Yeah, man, everyone's got opinions about arenas and what I should do, but it's my arena. So.
Honestly, the problem I've been having is a lack of opinions.
Really?
So for the start of the design process, I brought in DK and Beans. DK being a Sacramento player who would be playing in the arena regularly and also has a great mind and is very obsessed with the game and the sport. And then Beans, who has literally like worked in and on probably more laser tag arenas than I could count, has a ton of experience with that and would be doing setup for like effects and stuff to be able to have input there, on top of being a competitive SM5 player. So I brought them in. We went through like a lot of iterations, a lot of versions, looking at like what we want, what works, what doesn't work. And as we kind of rounded all that out, I went in and I took all of the things that we were like, these are like big deals. These are things that would be good in the arena, put them in a map, messed with it a lot, looked at, the flow of everything, resupply positions, tactics, strategies, evenness of play, all these things. It was a very long process, but over time I refined it into the arena map I ended up coming up with. And then I sent it out to everybody and I was like, I need your opinions on this. Like, what should be changed? And there was only one person who had any real feedback for me. And that was Rusty, who said that for the half walls, we should try them out as full walls first. And then if we feel like we need the extra visibility, then cut them down to half walls rather than having to build up a half wall into a full wall. Aside from that, I've gotten almost no feedback on like the design of the arena where it's like, oh, you shouldn't have this or whatever. Aside from, people being like, oh, like this is a cool feature, like more of that could be cool or things like that. But I haven't had anybody be like, oh, this area looks unplayable. Like, oh, this looks like a problem. This looks too strong. And I'm like, I need the feedback now before we build an arena. If we build an arena and then everyone shows up and it sucks and the gameplay isn't good, then that's on everyone for not telling me in advance that it looks bad. We all share the responsibility together here at this point.
I've got some thoughts for you about that, but why don't you share the map? Can you bring it up here?
Yeah.
So Odin's got the map here. And I'm going to invite, just because we're talking about that, if you have any feedback for Odin about this map, feel free to leave comments below. Clearly it's welcomed.
Yes.
And feel free to, if you can either turn that 90 degrees or zoom in a little bit to fill up the screen, it'll help us be able to view it a little better. But give us the rundown. Oh, that's
How was that?
Beautiful.
All right. Yeah, so the theme that we want to go with for our site is Olympus, Greek mythology. And so we kind of want a little bit of play here where it's sort of a like Olympus versus Hades vibe.
Hold on one heckin' second.
All right.
Odin is from Norse mythology.
Oh, yeah.
Are you going to change your name to like Hercules Fist? Like, what are you doing?
No. We're actually going to throw in an Odin pack in there and just confuse the heck out of some children. That's going to be great.
Please continue.
Yeah, so one of the things that we talked about was kind of splitting the arena into sort of quadrants for theming. So we have here, wait, I can actually just make this a big circle. So can you see that? The circle? Nice and easy. All right. So up here is supposed to kind of be like Mount Olympus. It's small, but like, I don't know. I feel like it has kind of like a prestigious energy. It's like, oh yeah, you sit here and you look down on the area around you. It's supposed to be kind of like a high visibility platform where you can kind of see a lot of the open space around it to like to shoot people and control more of the field from your mountain. And then this quadrant area overall would be more like just Greece in general, kind of like meadows, forests and stuff. And then adjacent to it, this quadrant is supposed to be like the islands and the sea. And I tried to kind of create a lot of these like floating wall sections and areas where you have a lot of just random cubbies mixed in here. So you can kind of float around and play different areas in this space. And then in this bottom left quadrant here, this is going to be Hades. And it's very large, very defensible, lots of backtrack areas, but we'll have a lot less visibility on the surrounding field. You have things like being able to shoot down into this area, but you're blocked off by these walls here, so you can't really see anything past here. So you can kind of defend the ramps to an extent, but you're not controlling a lot of the field. And then in the very bottom left, this is Tartarus, which is a little fallback concept I was playing with, where it's kind of like a built-in fallback with nowhere else to go. So if you need like a last, like just a quick emergency escape, you can flush down here. You're not flushing out into the field, but you don't really have anywhere else to go. So if you completely lose the platform and you flush down into here, it's going to be a rough time. And then over here is going to be like the labyrinth, some like Minotaur theming and stuff in here. A lot of like the monsters and creatures will be in this area. And this section here, I always get questions about it. These black boxes here are going to be like Greek Corinthian style columns. And this is going to be sort of like a Temple of Artemis style structure, which I did because in Lost Worlds in Los Angeles, for anyone who's played there or anyone who hasn't, there's this whole section of the arena where it's blocked off by a row of columns that you can still move between, but it creates a very interesting play dynamic where it's not just a completely open space. And so like here you have a shot straight across here that cuts in front of all the pillars, but with the added like I guess like maneuverability of being able to move in between the different pillars, being able to come out at like unpredictable angles and positions, makes it just a little bit harder to hold that line, which I think is just enough for it to create very dynamic play here. It's also very interesting for the way that like pathing works, because structures and walls interrupt path lines. So, you know, you come out this way, your path between the columns it's cut off there on the other side of the column. And then as well, it's such a wide space that if somebody were to go all the way around to the other side, then they wouldn't even be on your path for the interior part either. And so, but for theming purposes, this is basically going to be like the Temple of Artemis is what it's supposed to be.
Okay. You ready for my feedback?
Yes. Hit me with it.
I didn't have much feedback for you. I was one of those people. And the reason is because this is absolutely incredible to me. As a Space Marines 5 player, you've designed this arena to have lots and lots of ways to play it. It's very resupply friendly. There's more than 2 resupply zones, which is awesome. I think the more resupply zones there are, the more ways you can conceivably find win conditions to win. It rewards lots of different play styles. I like the theming. I didn't know that you said that about Tartarus. I looked it up real quick, and like the pit beneath the earth of Greek mythology. Like, how symbolic is that you are in Hades, and as you get flushed out, your final stand is in the very bottom of hell, basically. Like, that's so cool. It's everything you've said, like the whole presentation, I'm like, wow, that's cool. Like, I would love to try this arena out. And any feedback I have for you, like, I really am looking for things that might be overpowered, right? You don't want one zone to be eons better than other zones. You don't want like, okay, maybe like what if Mount Olympus, you have to have it or you can't win the game, rather than it just being a nice boost. But you can't find those things out really until you start playing in the arena. And at this point, this stage of planning, I feel like any feedback I have for you would be just to make the arena different, not better. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it can't be better. I don't ever want to say that. Every arena's got their downsides and their plus sides. So, I mean, this is a great way to maybe get feedback. If anybody has feedback, like throw it out in the comments. Odin would love to get that from people.
Absolutely. Yeah. This was like such a great passion project for me because for the longest time, I've been very into level design for video games. I've made a couple video games of my own, not published. Don't ask for them because I don't even know where half those files are anymore. And I I'm maybe a little embarrassed of my earlier work, but very, very into game and level design, very, very into Space Marines 5, obviously. And this was kind of just like the perfect fusion of the two. And I was able to apply a lot of things that I've learned from level design to the arena map, like softening a lot of strong spots. That's something that I learned over time, was that like there can be strong areas, but rather than take away their advantages or take them away completely, you can kind of just soften those advantages. And so an example here is up in Olympus, this wall here, this harsh line, this corner here would be like really strong defensively because you could hold in front of it. And then also you're defended from people coming in behind. They have to full swing the corner, and typically you would have the advantage in the shot there. By putting this little diagonal here, it kind of forces you to push up towards the different corners. 1 second, I'm going to put my cat out. He's not happy with me.
Oh, you're all good. Yeah, we can hear the cat. The cat's really the boss of the home. It's not the human. Anyone who owns a cat knows that.
Okay, sorry. He was flipping his tail really angrily.
Oh, yeah, you got to listen. Otherwise, your curtains are toast.
Yeah, so by putting the angle here, it kind of forces you to post up towards the sides more, which kind of takes away that like camper's advantage here, which is something that has its place and merit in the game. But this spot particularly, I didn't really want that to be the angle and the dynamic. And so there's a lot of spots in the arena where there were situations like that, where I was like, okay, I can soften the advantage here a little bit. I can like make this field not as terrible to address and deal with as an opposing player. Another example, this line here, I actually messaged some people about whether to put this line in the arena at all.
Yeah, I remember that.
Because I was kind of fighting back and forth with it. But the main thought was, if you're fleeing down this hallway, it would suck to be able to have somebody just go 10 feet on your path and still be able to shoot you the whole way down. Or if you get fleshed out from here, the other way around. And so interrupting that line of sight there, Thanatos brought up a good point that it kind of breaks up the flow here, which could prevent people from just full sprinting this length in this hallway and crashing into things. And so overall, after talking about it with some people, I decided that it was better to have the wall in there. And so there's a lot of spots like that where I kind of had to play around with it. This was definitely not a 1, 2, 3 iteration map. This had a lot of versions, a lot of work and editing that went into it. And I think I'm pretty happy with how it ended up.
Yeah, it's hard. I think when we're talking about what makes an arena good, I've never been a part of a conversation before where we have a real arena being built from scratch and we get to decide, the person gets to decide what is going to make this fun to play and what's going to make it rewarding to play in. I'm curious, if you could boil it down to some key concepts, what would make an arena, or this arena, fun to play in?
Well, I think there's 2 different angles to that. And I know there's people who will disagree with me on this. But I think there's a Gen Pub perspective and an SM5 perspective. And I do think that there's overlap and similarities, but I definitely think that it's different because the play that people are looking for is different, right? As a Gen Pub player, people go in and things that they're very excited for are being able to crouch behind a wall and blast over it with their phaser or out windows. People really like finding hidey holes where they can just kind of, obliterate random passerbys. And things like that. It shouldn't be too confusing of a layout for them. People get lost pretty easily in laser tag arenas, even if it's 2 walls and an open field. And so creating kind of a natural flow to the arena that guides you through it was something fairly important that I wanted to do. And you'll see that a lot of the more open spaces and things that seem more like natural pathways, if you don't want to go around a wall, kind of guide you between Hades and Olympus, kind of up and down the longer stretch of the arena. And then for Space Marines play, there's certain things that just are important traits. The first thing is recoverability. Like when you make an error, how many options do you have to like save yourselves, buy some time, and recover? And I think that a team's ability to recover is like a very high measure of how well the team performs overall. And so by giving more options for players to do that, it's more potential for skill expression. So I wanted to create a lot of spots where you can just breathe for a second, create a little bit of space for you, even just for the 8 seconds while you turn on and the paths are protecting you. I also wanted some counterplay to pathing in areas where that wasn't necessarily the goal, especially in like the labyrinth here. The labyrinth has a lot of like strong angles to defend and hold, but it's very hard to path around here. You see, there's like a lot of walls that just kind of interrupt where you might normally want to flush through, where people can kind of parallel path around. And so that was something where it's like, there's a trade-off for the spaces that you take, which is another thing that was kind of important to me, was making sure that there were different strategies that you can employ that had different benefits, and no spot really had the whole package where it was just absolutely incredibly defensible, had strong control over the arena, and like the perfect backtracks. As much as, you know, that's what we would all love to have as a resupply. like if I'm playing medic, I would love to be able to just sit there, control the whole space around me, and then have a singular hallway with a turn at the end that I can backtrack through. It's not really fun on the other side. And, you know, that balance is really important, making sure that you have the potential to defend yourself, but everything defensible is also has potential to be attacked and dealt with. So another big part of that on the Olympus platform, putting this third ramp here in the back was really important to me, because originally there was just 2 ramps to get onto Olympus, and they weren't oriented like this. But what it meant was that it was really easy to lock it down with just a couple players, and with the amount of control that I wanted it to exert over the arena, I wanted effective ways to attack it. And so I put this back ramp in with sort of a Loveland Fortress style cubby here, in order to create more space that teams can play in, you could resupply from, but also more angles for attack. You know, if you post up here, you're susceptible to attacks from the other side. If you post up over here, you're susceptible to attacks from the back. And so you really have to coordinate your pieces to control the space. And it means devoting more resources to holding this ground, right? Like 3 players committed to being on the platform means less players in the field applying pressure, getting the resets, or setting up attacks. And so, I think kind of some of the important things for SM5 arena enjoyability are being able to recover, not feeling like one mistake determines the game, having options for gameplay, both on the defensive end and the offensive end. And then also like that sort of natural sense of flow that I talked about from GenPub sort of applies to SM5 too, but in a different way. You want to be able to get from point A to point B without too much nonsense in the middle. But at the same time, you know, you want those walls that you're able to duck behind in order to recover. You want areas where you can create paths and kind of bring yourself to safety. And so, you know, that balance between the flow and putting in the obstacles, the walls, and the cubbies is fairly important.
Yeah, I would agree with everything you said. While you were talking, it got me thinking about different arenas that we play in right now and what the pros and cons are. Your Mount Olympus, it kind of reminds me of St. George Red. Do you think that's a fair comparison?
I actually was So it is similar to St. George Red in kind of like positioning. But obviously I stole inspiration from every field that I've played in before, because why wouldn't I? That's valuable experience. St. George Yellow platform was actually my main inspiration for Olympus.
Yeah.
Kind of like a defensible resupply position that's maybe a little difficult to hold without perfect field control, but gives you a lot of influence over the arena.
Cool. Yeah, it seems like it. And St. George is crazy because like you could lose it so quickly. Someone just waiting on the right at the bottom of one of your ramps gets up, tags everyone down, and you're out of there. But it's also kind of hard to approach because of all the visibility that they have of watching you come in. So
Yeah.
Mount Olympus gives me that vibe.
Yeah, definitely St. George platform vibes there.
But a lot of the rest of the arena gives me some Syracuse vibes. You said there's not that many half walls. It seems like a big labyrinth. I see lots of little areas where there's long shots you can take, despite how broken up the arena is. There are definitely angles where it's like I can see pretty far in a few directions based on just standing in certain spots. So that's cool.
Yeah.
I think rewarding different play styles is definitely something that makes arenas fun. So if you can reward the face-to-face melee combat range kind of players and reward the stealthy snipers, I think that'll be pretty fun for everyone.
Yeah, one of my favorite things. So actually, I think a lot of people don't like it, but I actually really like long cross shots in arenas, as long as it doesn't control the entire arena. And that was something where I was like, okay, I want it to be able to control space and like major zones, but still have ways where you can come up behind anybody who's doing that. And what I like is when you have to set up an attack, you can't just be the one player running straight at the enemy team behind all the walls and crash in and blast everyone. I like when you want to position multiple pieces in order to prepare your attack. And there's still going to be a lot of those games, especially at the low end or in chaotic games like, some random randoms or members night games where players just aren't holding the territory that they should be, and you're able to just kind of waltz through the defenses. But, the theory is like, if you have, maybe like a scout posted up at the bottom of the Olympus ramp defending like, this cross shot and this cross shot, while your team is set up here resupplying, if you're attacking it, then you would need or at least very much want to send a player to deal with the scout while you set up the attack. And so I like things where it rewards coordinated play as much as possible. And that was kind of a big deal with the platforms, like being able to attack opposite angle ramps simultaneously with another player is just so good anywhere that you can do it. And so like for Hades, the way that's broken up, you can split your resupplies up. There's a lot of ways to play it, but at the end of the day, you're going to be more concentrated in one area or another.
Yeah.
And so being able to have a scout kind of sneak up a ramp while a commander crashes in the other side, you're catching the flush, you're able to pick up some extra hits. There's a lot of potential here for two players who synergize and sync very well to be able to like pull off some very incredible plays.
Yeah.
And that's something that I definitely really wanted to be able to promote.
It reminds me a little more of Auckland down in the bottom left. Like, I don't know, the arena was really broken up and it felt almost like a dungeon crawler where you'd be entering room after room and you'd either meet nobody or you'd encounter somebody face to face.
Yeah. Yeah, that was that. It's funny how small Auckland is, yet unless you're just constantly moving, you could go entire like sections of the game without encountering a single person.
Sometimes you could, yeah. It was crazy.
All of the action is just in this area, and that area is just completely separated from where you're at.
Yeah.
It's definitely a very interesting field.
For sure. I mean, I was kind of tempted to do something a little fun here, or maybe not so fun, but I was thinking like we should just go through each arena and briefly describe what makes it fun and what makes it not fun and see how your arena compares.
Oh, geez. You're the host. We can do whatever you want.
Whatever I want. Maybe we don't have to go on it very long, but I mean, let's start with Loveland. Let's dunk on Loveland because
Loveland sucks.
I think Loveland has some of the most obvious reasons why it's not fun. Actually, some people have, it's grown on a lot of people from what I hear, but is after experience and getting competency in it. It's definitely what you said earlier about recovery. Loveland offers basically no recovery.
Yeah.
So I think that actually really hinders the experience for players, especially out of towners.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think that's really like the biggest issue. Like a lot of people talk about how strong third floor is, which is true. I mean, with like a staggered floored arena, the higher ground just is going to be more important. But the recoverability aspect is really what's rough because, it's like you get punished for being outplayed or having poor play. But it at some point in every game, some team is going to do something to pull ahead of the other team, get on top. And what makes the positions in the game incredible is the number of ways and tactics that you have in order to flip the board back. Mm-hmm. And I think Loveland really denies a lot of those opportunities.
Yeah.
Which is especially at the highest tier of play. When you have a team that knows how to hold the ramps, knows how to spread out and punish the players downstairs while still controlling the territory upstairs and denying a recovery, it's really rough. Something that is really fun about Loveland, though, is that it's really fun to attack the gaps. And this is something that I felt the first time I ever played there in West Coast 2018. I played a game against Detroit, and my team was downstairs. Detroit had the entire upstairs. And at the time, I was in much better shape, and I was able to get very low. And I snuck up one of the ramps onto the third floor, and I put down the Detroit resupply, and I missiled Baden in the back because he was holding second floor. And I was like, this is great. I like this. The rest of this time has been really, really rough. But being able to like win a couple trades and then just get into such a strong position where I can start fighting the other team, even though they're like completely stomping us, that's really enjoyable. And that's kind of, you lose a bit of that in the field with higher tier teams just because of it's relatively small in terms of like ground to cover on each floor. I mean, overall, you add the first, second, and third stories. It's not that small, but like there's not a lot of ground to cover, so it's fairly easy for teams to just kind of lock it down. And it's kind of similar in St. George. The field has a lot of playability, a lot of cubbies and stuff, but if one team really gets on top, there's not a lot of space that you have to control, so it's really easy to just like lock the arena down and really beat up a team that's on the back foot.
Yeah, I agree with all that. So your arena does not struggle with recoverability from what it looks like. If a team gets flushed out, they have options of where to go next and get back in the game. And that is fun for the team getting flushed out. But I will say, maybe one critique is that it will not be like Loveland and St. George where your wins will be monumental. Mm-hmm. I do think you get a huge adrenaline rush when you flush a team downstairs off the third floor and they all get sent packing past your scouts, getting reset. You feel awesome. St. George, when you flush a team out of their corner and they're scattering and your team's yelling out where they're at, and they're starting to panic, like that's a really good feeling. I will say if I played this arena and I'm playing commander and I flush out the enemy team, I'm going to view it like almost like I took a piece in chess. Like it's a win, but it's not that big of a win. Okay, I traded my pawn for a bishop. I have the edge, but I got to keep the momentum now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of the power from the wins is going to be from claiming the space, right? We flush them off the platform. The platform is now a piece that we have that we can work with.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the punishment on flushes is going to have to be a lot more dynamic. It's going to take a lot more understanding and coordination from the team, in sort of like, like routing the enemy, right? Like trying to position yourself to where you're forcing them into less advantageous positions. Like it's very common strategy for if scouts know that a big nuke push is going to happen, like the commander's got a nuke, heavy's full, they're ready to go, there's about to be a big flush. It's very common for scouts to position them at flush points, and that's something you can do here. For example, you might have like the heavy pushing up Hades and a scout pushing up the other side, so they can cover kind of like Tartarus and the area inside. And then maybe your other scout is floating in this area to prevent them from falling back into like another strong defensible resupply area, to kind of force them out into the chaos of the field, for more resets to be picked up, force them to set up somewhere that's easier to attack, things like that. Or just kind of swarming areas. If you slowly start claiming space in the arena and you're able to really just hit them from all sides, I think those are moments that are going to feel really good as well, that you might not be able to get so much of in other arenas. Like one of my favorite things in the Sacramento arena when it was still around was the second floor visibility made it a lot, not necessarily, well, I guess easier to set up coordinated attacks between commanders and scouts. And there's such an incredible feeling when your scout goes and hits the team from one side and they turn around and you come around from the backside as the commander and you just put the heavy down and you flush everyone. And there's a moment of panic where they said, you can tell they're thinking, I don't know where to go. There's a person on either side of me. And those moments are also really great. And there's definitely like times where it happens in other arenas. There's potential for it to happen in Loveland with like, third floor and closet play. But I think that's a little different, versus something like this where it's like you really just start like packing the whole team in like sardines into Olympus or Hades or whatever, and then you just go and beat them up and you get the panic. And I definitely think that anytime somebody wins, somebody has to be losing, which is definitely a rough thing, and it's something that's talked about a lot in game design, and something that they say very often is that the losses hit harder than the wins do in general. Like if you have a really rough game, it's going to hit you harder than the adrenaline rush from having a really good game. You see it a lot in like competitive multiplayer games. People will just straight up get off of the game if they have a really bad game. They're like, that sucked, I'm not playing anymore, I'm done. And that's not what you want, right? And so, I think definitely players should be rewarded for good play. There should definitely be wins built in that players can get and feel the rush. But at the same time, I don't think the win should come at the cost of players feeling like they're just completely screwed because of one play.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. I can also appreciate how one good player may not be the cause of a win in this arena. If I don't know, if one really good commander is taking over the Olympus, there's enough fallback room right around or inside of Olympus itself that a commander might not be able to do it by themselves. It may really reward having people guarding the flush out areas to really send a team packing.
Yeah.
And maybe that would annoy some people at a more beginner level, but I would absolutely reward just higher level play and teamwork in this arena.
Well, and that's kind of the thing too, is that if you set it up to be a competitive arena that gives you the options and stuff, the lower level play has a tendency to sort of like, okay, I don't really like this saying, but has a tendency to sort itself out to an extent, in the ways that it might be harder for lower level players to coordinate and make these big attacks it's also less likely for lower level teams to like post up and defend properly, to be fully attentive and aware, keeping their phasers up and guarding all the entrances, right? Like there's more opportunity and room to kind of crash in. And then maybe they might not flush properly or make their backtracks correctly. And so even though lower level players might not be able to capitalize on everything that the arena has to offer on an offensive end, the same is true for the defensive end as well. In my opinion.
Yeah, totally. Let's see. Mind if I move to a different comparison off that topic? When I think of the Loveland and St. George, which I'm going to group them, I know they're different, but like they seem to have pretty similar things that are fun and not so fun about them. I think of Detroit being basically the opposite. The elimination rate for Loveland is like 86%, and the elim rate for Detroit is like, it's literally like 12%. The arena is massive, and it's very forgiving. Because I come from Loveland, I find very little wrong with it. I enjoy Detroit immensely because it's like total relief from the pressure you feel in Loveland, where one mistake could get you killed. But I do think that is both a blessing and a curse for Detroit is, you know, I remember having this was 2019. I remember doing a, with Slaughtermelon, he nuked. I went in as the heavy, stood in the enemy resupply, flushed him out. It was an incredibly successful play. The enemy team goes scattering. On the scoreboard, like nothing happened. Like there was very little ability for my team to be able to like keep the pressure on them because the arena is just so forgiving. We did not elim that game despite having, if you did that play in Loveland, like it's game over right that moment. So yeah, it is a hard balance. I do think there's a way an arena can become too forgiving. The thing is that Detroit is like the size of your arena times 2. It's got a whole second one above it.
Yeah.
And a lot of their areas, they're like dead zones, like they're never used. And I think that's definitely a downside is like Detroit's massive, but you don't use most of it. You can use it, but there's easy ways to counter it because of the second floor.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I definitely think that a part of the problem with Detroit is that there's a lack of options kind of all around. And, you know, what I was talking about before with, you know, trying to make it easier to punish players fleeing through certain areas, that's something that doesn't really exist in Detroit. Like theoretically, if you play perfectly, you know, you set up your backtracks in the hallway that leads up to your resupply, you have the ramps, you have all these choke points where players have no potential option to wrap around and keep pressure up. The only way to get around to the other side is to go all the way back to your resupply, go down your ramp, and then across the bottom floor of the arena to the other team's ramp.
Yeah.
Which is a lot. That's a lot of work. And so, you know, creating these places where you can wrap around a team, but making it like very committal was something that I really looked at, right? So like if you push, say you're attacking Olympus and you push up this ramp and you put everyone down and they flush around and they go onto this ramp. And then they're just kind of chilling here to recover. You could, you know, go around over here and attack. But, you know, it's going to take you time to get there. It's not just, you know, something that happens in Syracuse is like, here, I'll just use like this elbow, for example, right? You could come attack a resupply in here and then wrap around. And a lot of the places in Syracuse have very easy, very quick wraparound points. So like say you're attacking Hades and you flush and you had another player flush from the other side. They don't fall back into Tartarus. They go down this ramp and they go into this corner here. You can still come around and go attack from this other side, but you have a very long trek to get there.
Yeah, they'll probably be up by the time you get there.
Right. And so there's places where you can't, you know, follow directly behind people. You aren't going to be able to just like, you know, wrap around a wall and keep continually resetting all the players, but you still have multiple angles for attack. So they still are able to flush and still are able to, have a bit of safety in that, you really are going to have to send it to even come from the other way to begin with. And they're able to buy time regardless with their trails. The trail isn't meaningless because of the other angles. But at the same time, you have options as a player to attack from different places, which was something that I really like, because that's what since I started playing, that's what I've done. I think my playstyles developed very differently over the years, but at the start, at least, the way that the Sacramento arena worked, for anyone who doesn't know, at least I'm just going to talk about attacking green side to keep it simple. There was the second story had a big hole in the middle of it. That was no play. And then the resupplies were just on opposite ends. And there were kind of like these thin catwalks that went back between the two areas. And so the way that I played attacking green is that I would literally run one way, attack from one way, and crouch sprint around the entire arena to the other side to attack from the other side, while they were still expecting me to be in the original spot that I attacked from. And so that's something that, I like. I enjoyed that. That was like my favorite thing ever, was being able to attack from one way, set up expectations, and then just completely bulldoze from the other side and just tear all those expectations down. And so I definitely wanted multiple angles for pretty much everything, right? Like, you have this cubby here, you backtrack here, there's still another angle to come all the way around and wrap around this way. And so everywhere that's like sort of defensible, you have ways to get behind people so that one person can't just lock down an entire zone.
But what I like is that from most of these situations, there's more than one place a resupply can flee to. So it's not like you'll automatically get attacked again by the person who just got you down. Like, the person who got you down has to make a gamble as to where you're going to go. I could find myself as the resupply in this arena. Maybe I run around the corner to flee from the commander, and then I just stop and I just go back to where I came from. And the commander might not be there anymore. And maybe they'll be running off to the other side of the arena.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things to do.
Which I think that counters, like, Detroit does not have these options. Detroit is very linear. It's like a war of attrition. When you beat them, they go backwards, and they go backwards, and they go backwards until they're on the first floor. And they push forward, forward, forward. This is a lot more like Syracuse, like you were saying, which I think has a really, it's got a nice feel to it. There's a good mix of like long angles, tall walls. It's accessible. I think that's my favorite word to use for Syracuse. It's very accessible. Anybody can be really good there. One thing I want to ask you about, if I had a critique for Syracuse, is I cannot stand how red side is blatantly just better than green side. That frustrates me. I really wish they would add something to green or take something from red. It wouldn't cost them much. Like, just make it so that one side isn't more valuable than the other. And I'm curious if you have any thoughts on where you're going to have players start. And do you have a prediction of what might be the most valuable or coveted meta resupply spot?
So we're going to have to play around with player starts when we actually have the arena going and just kind of see what feels good. Some things I was considering were starting players in these sort of like neutral cubbies on the sidewalls, where you can kind of push either way if you want. Either side can kind of try and fight for Olympus, or they can try and fight for Hades.
I like that.
I was also considering starting teams out just like in cubbies next to the platforms. But my concern with this is that you're kind of pigeonholed into starting strategies and starting play styles, right? Like, if you start on, let's say this is red side by Hades and green side by Olympus. If you start on red side, you're kind of like, okay, well, what we have to do here is set up and just control our space, and that's the way that we have to play the game. On green side, you can maybe, just throw your resupplies up into Olympus and then go just start keeping the pressure on and controlling the field, which I don't think that there's a problem with, encouraging different strategies for each side, but I don't want people to feel like that's just how they have to play the game. I feel like with these starts, if you start here on red side, there's room for you to kind of just disperse into the field and just start attacking. And you don't even necessarily have to set your resupplies up on the platform. You could tuck them in a corner somewhere. You could go try and maybe claim the temple or something, set them up in the middle. You have options. And then same is true for the other side. If you really want to like play defensive and lock stuff down, you could go for Hades, or you could try and maybe set your resupplies up in this corner and try and just lock the corner down and send your scouts and commander out to just start controlling the field and attacking. I think it gives a lot more options. So this is kind of what I was looking at in terms of starting zone. I also like this T here, even though it doesn't actually change anything. I feel like there's kind of a psychological effect here for the start, right? Where whichever side of the T you're starting on is kind of like, where it kind of gets you gearing to go execute whatever plan you've got going on, like, okay, I'm going to go like rush out over here and rush to the Hades platform and try and contest that. Or we're going here, we're setting up our half of the field, we're, defending here. Which I think is something that like technically exists to some extent in other arenas, but not quite in this way. An example being Loveland starts. If you are a scout starting in the back of the box, it's pretty clear to everyone that you're going to go rush across and try and cheese the other team. But this is something where it's like, you're very clearly picking a side to start on, and it kind of, it telegraphs to your team. It helps you get ready where you're like, all right, this is the way I'm going. Less ambiguous. I just thought that was neat.
I think that's probably the best way to do it when you get the arena actually set up. Like, don't pigeonhole anybody into a starting spot. I just imagined that for Syracuse just now for the first time. Like, what if they all started in the middle of the arena, or you put both teams equal distance to the E door?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that would change everything. Both teams might typically fight for the same resupply spot at the beginning, rather than one just being kind of consigned to the green resupply.
So a very common strategy that we had been seeing in Syracuse is actually the green side E-door rush.
Yeah.
Where teams that struggle with holding entrance or have struggled attacking E-door, just full team rush and just take E-door off the break. And it was fairly successful. It was something that I liked doing back in the random draws.
Mm-hmm.
But doing things in random draws is a little different from doing things in a NAT setting. You can get away with a lot more, especially when there's like a mismatch. But I really liked just rushing E-door and being like, all right, we don't have to, we can just come do this. We can set up over here. And so, honestly, I think that the Syracuse starts are okay. I think the biggest problem in reality is that the spots on red side to help control the field around E-door exert a lot of influence on the arena. E50 and red reload, you can control a lot of cross shot. You can help like put down a lot of people coming in and attacking your resupply, and then turn around and take 2 steps and be attacking the enemy team and controlling a lot of territory over there. And technically, you can go control E50 as a green scout. You should, and have a similar thing where you're controlling that hallway into your resupply and also able to exert offensive pressure. But it's definitely more one-sided because you can't actually see like into the resupply area from that spot attacking red versus red attacking green. If the ammo takes 1 step out on accident, then you have a clear shot to put them down. You can put down the heavy holding that area. And so, it's definitely like a little like leans one side more heavily. And then similar for the other side too, is that attacking down brick wall is very helpful to your team in a defensive standpoint on red side. And also, you're obviously attacking and creating pressure in different angles, attacking green versus green, all these midfield areas. It's kind of like you're detached enough from your resupply that you aren't really controlling your space. You are just setting up your attacks. And so it creates this very clear split between the defense and the offense on green side that doesn't really exist so much on the red side. And I think that's really what makes Edor so much stronger than Entrance.
Thank you for that speech. I'm going to give you 10 out of 10 gold star. I'm putting my desk down. I want to sit.
Oh, yeah. Sitting is good.
No, the truth is I'm sitting there like, wow, Aiden understands this way better than I do. I'm just like easier defensive angles. I can't defend green for heck as heavy, green heavy.
You should take some lessons from Grak.
I should.
Grak has had like 40 games on green heavy at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, at the end of the day, it's still Grak. I'm not going to sit here and try and overhype Grak's play level. But she reached a point getting all the tips and all the experience where she would still lose over time to players better than her. But she could hold the line fairly, like kind of ridiculously well for where you would normally put Grak's skill level at. If she's typically ranked somewhere in like the E to F tier, sitting on those walls and watching her just like hold the line and go, Baden's down, Cody's down. And you're like, what the heck? And then they get in, but you're like, I mean, really, like at the end of the day, there's a general expectation that at some point the enemy team is going to get in on your resupply. And being able to keep Baden and Cody out, even just for another 8 or 16 seconds, is actually a big deal. And I think the rough part about green is that it has a higher like baseline requirement of play level. Like red, you could take noobs and just like stuff them in the corner and be like, you do this, you do this, you do this.
Yeah.
And they could more or less play Edor. If you take like a bunch of noob players and you put them in entrance, they're just going to get obliterated. Like they have no clue where to stand. It's not very intuitive. So it has like a higher requirement of play level in order to actually like even manage it really. But there are still some like options. I think that green side really rewards creative and sneaky heavy players. I think Josiah would actually thrive. The Fear Turkey would actually thrive playing green side heavy on like a capable team. Because being able to like wrap around walls and really push players out and also be in unpredictable spots to defend is really one of the big strengths of green side. When you're attacking red, you more or less know where the heavy is. Like they might be on this side of the wall or that side of the wall, but they're going to be somewhere in this area. So as long as I clear my angles, I'm good. Green side, whenever you're clearing your angles, there's always another angle. And you also want to attack quickly because lurking around in that area is just going to get you shot. So that there's potential for the green side generally will have a lot more information than you will because you have to attack down like one of 3 paths and it's pretty easy to just kind of keep eyes out and you're going to get called out. Okay, they're attacking from green base. What you don't know is where the enemy heavy is positioned and they could be wrapping all the way around. They could be holding weird angles, sitting in cubbies where they're going to get advantageous shots on you. It's just that there's less of those harsh lines that you can defend and you have less defensive support from your team.
Do you think my statement is accurate about like it being uneven in Syracuse, or am I just too simple-minded when it comes to playing heavy? I'm being genuine.
No. As
like I really hate playing green heavy.
As I said
It's
before,
so much easier on red.
I think Edor is stronger. I think that is the stronger side. Red has the advantage because they start there. Um, Mostly, but I do think that most of it comes from that midfield play and how the midfield play on red side is so much more supportive of the defense. I think scouts are more important in Syracuse than probably any other field I've played, except maybe Brisbane. The scout influence is just extreme, and being able to have your scouts assist the commander and the heavy at the same time is just so powerful. It was something that we actually struggled with in 2021, and we were actually losing to the Utah team because we especially on green side was the worst because we needed our scouts out supporting the commander attacking. But the problem was that their commander was attacking us with full scout support. And as a heavy, it's too much space that you have to control. And so if I put everyone down, I would go flush the commander out, but I can't also flush out the scouts. And so we had to figure out getting scouts on the supportive end to help flush out deactivated scouts and help kind of keep the space clear. But at the same time, you're pulling a scout from the deeper field when you do that. And so, it's a really hard balance to find. I think that, like, theoretically, with perfect play, red side's advantage over green is fairly small, but I think it's still there. But I think that the requirement to play each side means that green side it requires so much more coordination, so much more like perfect play, good communication. And the more things that you're required to do to play an area, the more room there is for things to go wrong. And you're punished very heavily on green side. The nice benefit is that there's a lot of fallback cubbies. So if your team splits and scatters, you have a lot more potential to like recover and come claim your space back really quickly. Heavy goes one way, ammo goes another way, medic goes another way. If they're chasing down your medic to get medic hits, your heavy's going to come up and be able to take the space back. If they're chasing the heavy to keep the heavy down, your resupply is kind of chilling, and eventually they're going to, either run out of gas, your heavy's going to have enough backtracks, something's going to happen to where you're able to reclaim that space. Red, because of how controllable Edor is, when you do get flushed, it's a lot easier for a scout to lock that area down, and for the commander and scout or heavy and scout to really like keep punishing the red team. But there's a lot to it. There's a lot of like options and a lot of nuance, but at the end of the day, I think that red side is stronger in Syracuse. But I don't think that green is necessarily as bad as it feels like when you first play it.
For sure. It just takes a little more skill
And experience.
from what I'm hearing, and experience.
Like the angles in Syracuse are also like a really big barrier to overcome. Especially they have the dumb reflex shots that I hate. I hate one-way reflex shots so bad.
Yeah, I don't get how that works sometimes. Should
But,
go both ways.
That's another thing that kind of evens the playing field for green, is that they have some really strong reflex shots where ammos who are able to play the reflect properly can exert a lot of defensive presence.
Yeah, absolutely. I just so I can catch you up with my mind, I was thinking we're going to save the conversation about how to play a new arena for another time. I want to keep diving into this if that's all right.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I mean, the numbers for what you said, back up what you said about Syracuse. The win percentage in Syracuse is like 53% red, which isn't that big. Like, it still mainly comes down to the skill and experience of the players. But it's also one of the most significant that we have in the tournament scene. And scouts on average, like, I have this adjusted metric where, like, on average, scouts get the highest boost from any other arena in terms of average MVP in the Syracuse arena. So, like, it is a great place for them to thrive. I think it's a lot about those long angles, the way the arena plays, it's definitely one where you can easily get around behind and take long angles on people.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how do you think the positions are going to be affected in this arena that you designed? Like, obviously, they'll all be important. They're all important in every arena. But, like, will any of them get a boost or a sedative?
I think that this arena is going to be, I think, like the most dramatic impact difference in this arena would be ammos and scouts. I think ammo is going to be very important. I think that your ammo, while resupplying, should also be exerting control on the surrounding area, which is very important. And I think that because there's so much space to work with and there's so many walls to move around, scouts are going to have an easier time surviving versus like somewhere like Loveland, where it's like, as a scout, you're either downstairs taking some cheese shots or you're kind of just in this box and the enemy commander's just sniffing you out in the box. And once they find you, they're going to, eat up all those special points.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like that's very Auckland-esque as well.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot more room for them to survive and thrive. And then at the same time, because of like the opportunities for coordinated attacks and the tendency for eyes to be drawn to commanders, I think there's a lot of room for scouts to thrive on the attacking end. I think that probably in this arena, more than most, you would see examples of scouts flushing teams out just from like a commander attack drawing so much attention and being so impactful, and a scout being able to sneak up and blast everyone in the back.
No, completely. I was thinking like, but they wouldn't be an impactful the same way they are in Syracuse. I think of Hoodlum, a player like a scout style like Hoodlum might do really well in this arena. Or makes me think of a D&D rogue backstab kind of play style.
Yeah.
Players who can slither in behind a distracted team and get big flushes.
Yeah, I really hope that this is an arena where like a lot of crafty players will just really want to play scout. Like I could see players like Kodama or the Fear Turkey or Simply Okay just having like a really great time on scout here. And
Dude, Simply Okay would kill it.
And just like not having the pressure of being the commander, and having to be in the front and fighting, and being able to just run around behind everyone and just like farm a bunch of points, put everyone down, and have like these big scout plays. And I think it'll promote a lot more like brawl and attention soaking play styles on commander, like Slaughtermelon. I think that this would be a good Slaughtermelon commander arena. Yeah. A lot of options and opportunities, a lot of times where you just have to like square up and like beef with people. And because of all the space and all the options, teams are going to be more spread out. So I think that funny thing he does where he just loses a trade and then just sits there, actually has a lot more room to work here.
Could work pretty well. People have to actually come all the way to him.
Yeah. So I definitely think that there's a lot of room for players to just like find a lot of fun in any position, but I think especially scout and ammo in this arena are going to be really fun, and I really look forward to that because I like a good scout game.
There's a feature here you didn't really talk about, and it's the movable walls, right? Is that the pink ones? Yeah.
So this pink dotted line here, it's only one here. I was trying to look at other places to put it in here, and I really tried to cram a movable wall into any gap where it would fit. And after looking at everything, I was like, I don't know that I would put a movable wall anywhere here, or pre-existing walls, making them movable. But this specific wall feels like nothing, and it's not completely arena changing. But the point is to have an impact on game flow from different areas. And eventually we might just reach a point where we're like, okay, this is just the best way to have this wall oriented, and that's just like the default. But the point being, here, let me make my cursor smaller part of my brush smaller. Hopefully it's still visible, but that way I can make a smaller line. So like if you have the wall here, for example,
Yeah.
what you have now is a good L cubby that you can fall back into, especially from the temple, right? If you're getting flush from the temple and you wrap around in here, or, you know, maybe you're flushing from Olympus and you just want to come in here and take a breather real quick, flushing through the middle. You just have like a little escape cubby here. And then you have this cubby here, which just controls like this line across. And so it's like reasonable for, you know, supportive control. Maybe you plant a scout there to just help defend while you recover if you get flushed into this area. Versus if you have the wall here, now what you have is this deep cubby here, which offers like a very strong flush point that you can, you know, tuck your resupplies into. You can fill some people up while somebody's holding something like this angle here. And you have, you know, maybe like a scout posted up here for some cross angles. Very, very strong defensible resupply spot, as that also functions as a flush point for Hades. And then on the other side, what you have here is just, you know, this cross shot here. You know, it's like very limited here. You don't really have like a strong flush point. But maybe something where like if you're holding the Temple of Artemis and somebody crashes in, you can come and just wrap around the wall real quick and just have a spot where there's enough wall to where you don't just get shot from inside. But just kind of playing around with like, it just creates different dynamics for falling back from different areas and like options for resupplies in particular.
Well, the idea excites me for a number of reasons. One, imagine every year when people come out for tournaments, like the arena can be slightly shifted, provides new levels of novelty. It actually would probably matter most for, actually maybe out-of-towners wouldn't like that. But for like the home type players, being able to keep the arena a little fresh, like I know it's just the one here, and it's a lot of work for you, but I think it'd be really cool if there were like 3 or 4 of those, and you could move them all at once and make the arena kind of like an A version and a B version.
Yeah. Yeah, I probably, like, if my primary goal was movable walls in a flexible arena, I could have designed around that. Versus here, I kind of designed the arena the way that I wanted with the flow, and then put in this section with the movable wall afterwards. And, you know, I don't know, I just kind of looked around, and a lot of points where it's like, I don't know, like, okay, we could have a movable wall like here. But the way that it breaks the arena up is really awkward, you know. And then even if you pivot it to like here, even here, it's like, you know, it creates a lot more separation here. And I really like the open flow in this area. And I just kind of went around and looked at pretty much everything. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. I'm feeling about it. If anybody has ideas for places where we could put a movable wall, I'm all ears. Because I also think that's like a great idea. But for now, I just got the one.
Yeah, for sure. If you were going to have one, I actually do think the area you just said, like ones that really change the way certain areas work, would be what you'd want to do. Otherwise, why even have the wall? Shifting whether a cubby comes from one angle or another one is fine, but like removing the ability to access a whole hallway from a certain angle, creating or destroying certain resupply areas, feels like for Space Marines purposes, the big reason you'd want to even have them. Otherwise, like, I don't know, because I was thinking about it right there, like if I were an out-of-towner coming into play and I learn your arena and then I leave for a couple years and I come back, if you change up the walls, I'm actually going to be like, oh, but that's all I know. I'm already an out-of-towner.
Yeah.
It'd be a weird way to like help keep home field advantage for you, actually.
Yeah. Most of my like kind of a main goal for me in doing this, in designing the arena the way that I did, was actually like eliminating or sabotaging home field advantage. Not because I don't want to win Nats, but because the point is that I wanted an arena that just gave so many options and lent itself to so many new strategies.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted an arena that allowed players to innovate as much as possible, which, inherently diminishes the value of home field advantage, right? Because if the arena just plays one way and it's all about how well you know the angles, how well you can move between the spots, the people who know the reflex shots, it's just going to be stronger for the home team, versus something like this where it's like a team could show up and be like, oh, actually, you guys didn't think about it, but resupplying here for some reason is just ridiculously strong.
Yeah.
And you never saw it coming. That's something that I would love to see that. I would love to see people show up and be like, oh, actually, we're resupplying in the middle of the field because the angles are just good if you put your scout here or something.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. That was kind of like a hope of mine, was that people would innovate new things. I definitely think that there will always be a tendency towards high ground. I think the platforms are going to get the majority of the play. But I definitely think there's potential to even just, you could just off the gate, resupply in like a covey here or here and just use the platforms for field control more than actually resupplying off of.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm definitely, should this arena come to fruition, which it seems like we're on that track, hopefully, I would love to see what innovations people come up with.
And I hope that has like some diminishing returns for you, because I hear that and I'm like, whew, I want to go there. That sounds fun. Being able to innovate an arena and not have there being just one way to play it, like having it be an arena that continuously the meta is evolving and evolving. That'd be amazing.
Yeah. I also think too, like, over the past like 5-10 years, we've seen a big shift in meta of positions, right? Like heavy plays a lot more aggressive and forward. The ammo is less attached to the medic and more attached to the 3 hits. I think we've seen a shift in the way that positions are played, and I feel like this arena lends itself to that, right? As the meta evolves over time, the arena is there to kind of facilitate it. Versus, I think there's definitely arenas that don't really facilitate evolving metas. Like at the end of the day, like it just is strongest to put your heavy here in this arena. And so it maybe doesn't promote the players adapting with the global scene or changing the way that they play over time, which can lead to things getting like, more stagnant or stale. I think meta changes create new challenges, which help players improve and evolve. Sometimes a player who might be a 5 out of 10 at your site comes up with some weird idea and it works, and all of a sudden they're wrecking 8 out of 10s. And now they have to figure out a way to deal with that. And those are things that help prepare you for Nats and for high tier players and new innovations to the field and unforeseen problems and challenges. So.
Yeah, 100%. It's definitely fun when it's not the same exact strategy every single game to win. And even like if you're like a low seeded team versus a high seeded team playing in this arena, like the amount of different openings you could feasibly come up with, ways to try to win the game, are pretty insane. I think of trying to do like guerrilla warfare in this arena feels more feasible than just about anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, let's just move spread out, trick plays, move our resupply around, mobile resupply. I could see a lot of different ways to win in this arena.
Yeah, not to show all my cards all the time, but I care more about like, I don't know, sharing in ideas than I do about like holding stuff close to my chest.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Definitely something that I was thinking about, just the number of like tricks that you can pull in here and jukes. Definitely something I'm going to do at one point is just send 2 scouts up into like Olympus and just have them pretend to be a resupply and just hold Olympus while the rest of the team just moves somewhere else. like putting the resupplies in a more forward position, like maybe tucking them into the temple and being able to just keep up like consistent attacks while having quick access to your resupply while the enemy team is messing around with just 2 scouts who have 30 lives.
That's awesome. Unfortunately, the medic ding is going to hurt that strategy.
I forgot about the medic ding. Can sites turn that off?
Maybe you'll find out soon.
Yeah. I would love that, but I don't know. People might get mad at me. Ding equals adrenaline rush.
Some people were mad. Yeah, it's true. Some people were mad when the ding got implemented.
I know in League of Legends, there's an item called Heartsteel. And when you're near an enemy for long enough, you can auto attack them to get a stack. And when you auto attack them to get the stack, it makes this really satisfying like dink sound. And so the number of times that I've just ran it down and died because I wanted to hit them and get the dink sound.
Oh, so satisfying. Just like going after those medic hits.
Yep, that's what the medic ding is going to be. Yeah, so definitely. Though I will say that I think enough of us have played for long enough that, like, I mean, you know, you might adjust to the medic ding, but I definitely could see myself playing a game and being like, "Hi, I'm attacking the resupply and hitting them both, not getting the ding and not registering that I'm not getting the ding." You know,
mm-hmm.
And like I have enough years of, you know, just going in and blasting the resupply and not getting any auditory response for it. Could probably be a little more conscious of that, but
I think there was one time where I was standing next to my ammo and somebody zapped my ammo from across the arena while also someone different zapped me. And when they didn't hear the ding, they were convinced all game I was not the medic because they accidentally shot my ammo and they didn't look down and see that on the screen. So I don't know. It reminds me of back when there wasn't the ability to look at your lives and shots on the screen and people would count. Like, that's a good muscle to build. Like, use your brain and remember them. You should also be using your brain and looking at behaviors to figure out the medic, not just relying on the ding.
Yeah, I still count my shots and lives. I remember there was this game I played in Lost Worlds, and my pack had no audio, and I was commander. Which commander is kind of an unfortunate position to not have any audio.
Yeah.
But the entire game, I knew exactly what my lives and shots were at. I would go back to my resupply and I would say, I have 11 lives and 6 shots.
Wow.
And I would get the resupplies. I would keep track. I got all 5 of my missiles off because I would count it out in my head and be like, all right, you know, I'll give it an extra half second for, you know, lag and whatever. But, I knew when I had all of my nukes. So I think it was 5 nukes. I think I got 5 nukes off, all 5 of my missiles. And when I came out at the end, I was like, all right, I'm pretty sure I have, you know, 14 lives and 12 shots left. And I came out and I looked at the scoreboard and I had 14 lives and 12 shots. And I was like, wow, I still got it.
Let's go.
Still got it. And it's like, I don't know. I'm like, that's a really small thing to be proud of, but I am. I'm like, good, I can still count.
You should. It's not just counting, it's counting while you're in a war zone.
And that's something where it's like, you know, I don't know, I play on Gen 8 and I'm still counting my shots and lives as a general. I don't need to look at my phaser at all, you know, I'm just always scanning pretty much. And then I'm like, all right, I'm pretty sure I need to go back. And then when I go back, I'll check my phaser while I'm deactivated just to double check how many resupplies I need to get, make sure that I'm on track. But being able to have a general sense of where you're at without having to look at your phaser is kind of important, because even while you're deactivated, looking down at your phaser is like that glimpse. The number of times I've just like slipped past people, and it might not be because they were looking at their phaser, but you know, they were distracted for some reason.
Sometimes
I just slipped right past them as a scout. Like all those moments count. The more you can be scanning the field, the better. The more information you have. This really is like a game of information. The more information you have, the easier it is to play the correct way versus, you know, what the correct play entails if you have no clue where any other player is now requires you to do a lot more. Like, oh, I know they're down this hallway. I have to defend this hallway. Versus, I have no clue where anybody is. Now all of a sudden I have to defend both hallways and the roof and the underground tunnels, and it's a bit much.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good side lesson there. We've definitely tangented a little off of the topic, but that's okay.
Never tangent. This is weird for me.
Oh, it's fun just to talk Jag. Let's see. I'm trying to think of any final thoughts, I suppose, for your new arena. Is there any way the community can support you? Like, are there certain skill sets that could be useful to you? Like, what do you need? Because I think we all want this to happen.
Funny enough, we've kind of like intentionally cultivated our skill sets over the past 6 years or 7 years specifically for this. Like, Autumn has put herself in a management position to like do that. She's like taken on a lot of like business roles in order to like understand that. She's like worked management at laser tag sites across different systems. Mm-hmm. I have pretty much focused primarily on marketing so that I can handle like our marketing and online stuff. Disco running a business and has been focused on like expansion and stuff. He's really like gotten down a lot of things from that angle, from like the ownership standpoint and like managing your people and setting up the business for success and like different like things that you can do to like encourage your employees and stuff. So we've kind of been developing our skill sets. I think really like the big thing is just going to be actually building the arena. Because after like looking at different options for arena development, it looks like probably we're going to build it ourselves and then just have people come out and do the artwork and everything.
Wow.
And then we have Sweets Nolan from SoCal is an architect and is actually going to be helping us out with the architecture side of things and helping us like get the plans done and submitted and all that.
That's cool.
And then Disco has a lot of connections with contractors through his roof tile business and just the people that he knows and associates with. So really it's just going to be like actual labor and like putting the walls together. And then anything else that we need, Beans and Sanch from Syracuse are just incredible connections for all things entertainment. They just are such a wealth of knowledge for laser tag and family entertainment centers and what systems work and all of that. So.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you've got a good like core team, it sounds like.
Yeah.
If and when you need some like manual labor, like people to come out and just be putting wood up and putting nails in boards, like let me know. I don't know if like I can't guarantee you, but that'd be really cool to come do. And I will happily also like make a post here if you need.
Yeah, no, definitely. Anybody who wants to come out and put some boards together, we'll definitely reach out when the time comes. So
sweet.
We would definitely appreciate any and all help.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's about all I got. You got any final thoughts about, I guess, either your arena or arenas in general and what makes them fun?
Yeah, Loveland sucks. Scrap the whole thing. Make it all mini golf.
Well, I keep making podcasts and then I like wait a month or two to put them out because I'm just inconsistent. I like being able to do a few and then wait.
Yeah.
So by the time people actually hear this, the Loveland Arena will have been changed a bunch, and I don't know what exactly is going to happen. All I can say is that I have advocated really strongly that I want more downstairs resupply areas, and I want less access to shoot downstairs from the upstairs. Mm-hmm. Like removing the power from third floor and adding the possibility even of being able to win from a different strategy would, I think, make Loveland far more fun and playable.
Yeah.
Because right now it's just king of the hill or die.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I don't know how much you remember from 2018 West Coast. But my team had some very extreme personnel issues on top of everything else that we had going on. But we actually almost found a lot of success in autumn heavy first floor only gameplay, which part of it was I don't think the arena was like super completely solved by everyone at that exact moment. And also,
No.
I think the average skill level was a little lower than we see in tournaments nowadays. But it definitely, there was still a lot of ways to punish downstairs at the time. And we definitely suffered from a lot of that. But being able to just be like, all right, screw it, let's just go downstairs and the heavy will just hold people off and we'll just do whatever. And then the commander can just attack upstairs was fun. And redesigning things in a way to actually support that play, I think is a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. Just supporting more than one way to play.
Yeah.
It's all I want. I don't care if it changes and ruins everything about how the arena's played before. Like, this feels like a good new chapter. And new kids can grow up with this arena and try to solve it. But yeah, I do think I agree with you that fundamentally, like, home field advantage, I don't think is a very great feature of Laserforce. The one thing that is positive for me, it is really cool to see every year one team gets a huge spike in power. And you sometimes get to see teams that don't typically make it to the top have a either shot or a strong like probability of being at the top.
Yeah.
But if you don't ever get to host, it's not a very fun feature.
No home site, no home field advantage.
That's what they say.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. I'm about to remedy that. And what you all don't know is the hidden mirrors I'm going to be putting in walls to blast your resupplies that I'm not going to tell anyone about. It's going to be like an optic fiber tube situation. I like slide little holes open and then I'm like, all right, they're in this resupply spot. Blast it.
At the very least, what you could actually get away with is you create a one of these walls has a secret compartment. And when you're getting hunted in the very last moments of the game and your team's dead, you just slip into there, wait till the game ends, and then you wait till everyone leaves the arena before you come out of your cubby, and they're all like, where were you, Odin? Oh, you guys couldn't find me. I just kept slipping around you whenever you walked by.
That's it. That's the tech right there. I'm actually going to have within one of the walls, you slide it open and it's a beacon that's always set to invulnerability. I can't hit you. You were just missing. Just bad accuracy, I guess.
Get good.
Rockwood's accuracy going down to 99%.
Oh, no.
Because of my invulnerability.
He wouldn't survive, man. He'd never come back to a tournament. All right. Let's wrap this up. Thank you so much for coming on, Aiden. Always a pleasure talking to you. Support Aiden by leaving positive comments in the comment section down below and responding. When Gondor calls for aid, Rohan must answer and provide lots of manual labor for building this arena.
I'll probably throw out whenever we get set up too. I'll throw out the Google review link and everyone can leave reviews too.
We all suddenly had a birthday party at this place.
Heck yeah. That's when we get things set up and going. We're definitely going to throw out mega members night so that everyone can come and play before the Gen Pub gets to it.
Oh, so excited.
Break everything in.
Yeah. All right. Well, take care, everyone. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Force Pro Sports. Subscribe to the channel and get cool perks by supporting our Patreon. Play Laserforce and become part of this era's next great sport.